In the high desert mesas of New Mexico, a secret city buzzed with unprecedented energy. This was Los Alamos in 1945. Here, the brightest minds of a generation raced against time, driven by the immense pressures of a world at war. They had harnessed the atom. They had built the bomb. Two devices, Little Boy Fat Man, had already brought a terrible, fiery end to the conflict in the Pacific. Yet, in the hidden laboratories of the Manhattan Project, work continued on a third weapon. A contingency against a war that might have dragged on. This third core was forged from the same strange man-made element as the Nagasaki bomb, plutonium. It was a perfect, gleaming sphere, dense and warm to the touch, holding within its metallic lattice a power that defied imagination. This sphere of plutonium, initially designated Rufus, was not yet a weapon. It was the very heart of a potential third atomic bomb. Its purpose was simple and terrifying: to achieve a state known as criticality. What was this object that held such deadly potential? It was a sphere, just 3.5 inches in diameter, composed of two hemispheres of plutonium-gallium alloy. It weighed a mere 14 pounds, yet within that small, dense mass lay a universe of power. Plutonium is an unstable element. Its atoms are constantly decaying, spontaneously shedding neutrons into their surroundings. In a small piece of plutonium, these stray neutrons simply fly off into space. But in a larger critical mass, the story is very different. The neutrons released by one decaying atom are likely to strike another plutonium atom, causing it to split, or fission. This new fission releases more energy and even more neutrons, which in turn strike other atoms, creating a cascade. This is a chain reaction. The core at Los Alamos was specifically designed to be subcritical. This meant that on its own it could not sustain a chain reaction. The danger arose when this natural escape was prevented. The experiments performed by the scientists involved surrounding the core with neutron-reflecting materials, tungsten carbide beryllium. These materials acted like mirrors for neutrons. With enough reflection, the core could be nudged over the threshold. Harry Daghlian was a young physicist, just 24 years old, working in the remote Omega Site laboratory at Los Alamos. It was the night of August 21, 1945, less than 2 weeks after Nagasaki. The war was over, but the work of understanding the atom continued. Daghlian was performing a criticality experiment alone, with only a security guard outside. His task was to build a neutron reflector around the plutonium core, piece by piece. He was using tungsten carbide bricks. He stacked them around the sphere, measuring neutron activity with each addition, bringing the assembly ever closer to criticality. The process was methodical and intensely focused. Daghlian would place a brick, check his counters, then place another. The lab air was still, broken only by the faint, rhythmic clicking of detectors. As bricks went on, the clicks sped up, a staccato beat signaling the atom's excitement. He was building a wall around the dragon, nearing the final step, the last tungsten carbide brick, then the unthinkable. As he moved the final brick, his hand slipped. The heavy block fell from his grasp. It landed on the plutonium sphere, completing the reflector. Counters erupted into a deafening roar. A silent, ghostly blue light filled the room. The core went prompt critical. 9 months later, the same plutonium sphere was the centerpiece of another criticality experiment. It was May 21, 1946. This time, the lead scientist was Louis Slotin, a charismatic and confident Canadian physicist. Slotin was an expert in this dangerous work. He had assembled the core for the Trinity test, the very first atomic detonation. His preferred method for demonstrating criticality involved using the core and 2 half-spheres of beryllium. He would lower the top beryllium hemisphere over the core. The only thing keeping the assembly from going critical was the small gap he maintained between the 2 halves. Slotin's technique was notoriously risky. He controlled the gap with the tip of a simple, flathead screwdriver. By twisting the screwdriver slightly, he could raise or lower the beryllium shell, moving the assembly closer to or further from the critical point. He was, quite literally, tickling the dragon's tail with a screwdriver. On that May afternoon, he was demonstrating this procedure to 7 other colleagues who were gathered in the room to observe. He held the top beryllium shell with his left thumb placed in an opening on its top, and he manipulated the screwdriver with his right hand. It was a procedure he had performed dozens of times without incident, a display of his mastery over the atomic nucleus. Suddenly, the blade of the screwdriver slipped. The tool slid out from between the beryllium halves. The gap vanished. With a metallic clang, the top hemisphere dropped into place, fully enclosing the plutonium core. A silent, searing flash of blue light erupted from the assembly, illuminating the room and the horrified faces of the scientists within it. A wave of heat washed over them. Slotin, reacting with incredible speed, yanked the top hemisphere off the core with his bare hand, breaking the reaction. He had saved the others in the room from a lethal dose, but in doing so, he had placed himself directly over the unshielded, critical core. "Well," Slotin said quietly as the blue glow faded, "that does it." He knew immediately what had happened. He had absorbed an even more massive dose of radiation than Harry Daghlian. The second accident had claimed its primary victim. For both Harry Daghlian and Louis Slotin, the blue flash was just the beginning of an agonizing ordeal. Their deaths were not immediate but unfolded over days and weeks, a grim testament to the horrifying power of acute radiation syndrome. In the hours following the accidents, both men experienced the initial phase, intense nausea and vomiting as their bodies reacted to massive cellular damage. Neutrons and gamma rays had torn through his cells. Slotin was vomiting before he even reached the infirmary. He described a sour, lemon-like taste. A deceptive calm set in. The latency period, the walking ghost phase. For a few days they seemed to rally, but inside a catastrophic silent war was being waged. High-energy neutrons bombarded cell nuclei. Some atoms transmuted into radioactive isotopes. Their bodies became radioactive. Bone marrow, the factory for new blood cells, was destroyed. Their immune systems ceased to exist. The final phase. Rapid, complete collapse. Daghlian's hands blistered and swelled. His hair fell out, white blood cells plunged to zero. The Demon Core was forged for war, but it never saw battle. It was intended to be the heart of the third atomic bomb, a weapon that might have been dropped on Japan had the war continued. History took a different course. It was scheduled to be used in the post-war nuclear tests at Bikini Atoll. This, too, was not to be. Louis Slotin's fatal accident occurred just 4 days before the core was set to be shipped to the Pacific. Its deadly potential had been proven not over a city, but within the quiet confines of a laboratory. After the second fatality, the core was deemed too dangerous for any further hands-on experiments. The era of tickling the dragon's tail with screwdrivers and bare hands was over. Their deaths served as a brutal catalyst for change, forcing remote handling equipment and stringent safety protocols. The Demon Core had inadvertently become a teacher, its lessons written in the tragic fates of two brilliant young men. The story of the Demon Core resonates far beyond the technical details of nuclear physics. It has become a legend, a dark parable about the dangers of unchecked scientific ambition. The name itself, Demon Core, conjures images of a malevolent object, a cursed artifact with a will of its own. This personification, while not scientifically accurate, captures the deep-seated fear and awe around nuclear power. The core represents the moment humanity's reach exceeded its grasp. This history compels reflection on the responsibility of discovery. The power to split the atom can build and destroy on an unimaginable scale. The Demon Core is a monument to that duality. The eerie blue flash in a New Mexico lab remains a timeless warning. This has been your Deep Dive Report.